Thank you for joining me today. If you could please just introduce yourself to my camera.
My name's Carol Pierce, and I was born in Chapmanville, West Virginia in 1937.
All right, well, thank you for joining me, Carol. I just have some questions I'd like to ask you about. When we were talking earlier, you told me some interesting things about World War I that you could remember. If you could just please re-explain kind of what you remember from that time period of when that was going on.
I remember I was very young, maybe 5 years old, and I don't remember a lot about the war, what was actually going on, but I remember the ration books that we had to get food, and we even could only get one pair of shoes. And when Mom had finished the ration book, she'd give them to us to play with. We wrote in them because they were finished. You'd use all the coupons out of them or stamps, whatever. Can't remember what they called them at the time. And we played with them.
And then there was something else that you had mentioned about blackouts.
Yeah, at night, my dad would tell us, now there'll be a time that we can't have any lights on at night because of they didn't, if there were any enemy going to hit anywhere, we were told by our parents that was to keep anybody from knowing where people lived. At that time we did have electric.
And then when you were in school, did you ever watch any videos about the duck and cover things?
No.
For the atomic bombs, if they were to be dropped. Do you remember anything like
that? So they hit on something sometimes about that.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I don't remember a lot about the World War II because I was so young, but I know things were really rough at the time financially. The jobs were just hard to find a job. My dad was a coal miner and the mine shut down, and it was really tough with 10 kids.
I'm going to transition here to the John F. Kennedy assassination, something that you'll remember a little bit more than the World War II. So my first question about the assassination is, prior to the assassination, what was your opinion of John F. Kennedy?
Oh, I love John F. Kennedy. My whole family, everybody in my family just thought he was a great president. We loved the family. We loved to read about him, see him on TV. I thought he was a great president. He had a lot of charisma, he was just young, and everything was just great, with the family.
Mm-hmm. And then on the 22nd of November in 1963, do you remember the moment that you heard about the assassination?
Yes, I do. It was shortly after 1 o'clock, and I had the TV on, and Dan Rather came on TV, and he told about it, and he couldn't talk for crying. It was just such a sad time for everybody, and everything just seemed to stand still when that happened. Mm-hmm. Everybody you saw or talked to, it was just, nobody could believe it. It was just hard to sink in, that something like that could happen.
Mm-hmm. And the initial reports only stated that the president had been shot. So when you heard that the president had been shot, did you think he would survive?
I think everybody did. I think you just assume that things will get better, or he will live through it. And it didn't dawn on me that he would die. Or, of course, it hadn't shown all the things that happened. They showed the limo and when his head went back, and you could see the where the bullet hit. And it was just hard to watch.
So,
And then you pretty well knew that it was no chance.
so were you actually watching TV when he
Yeah.
was riding the limo? And
Yeah.
you seen it live?
Yeah.
Wow. So then when you found out that he had officially passed away, kind of what was like the initial reaction whenever you knew he was for sure gone?
My heart was broken. Everybody that was around. I lived in a neighborhood with a lot of people, and we all just kind of hovered together and was speechless. We just cried.
So, did you see? Were you surprised the following Sunday when Jack Rudy shot prime suspect Lee Harvey Oswald?
Oh yeah, I guess nobody even knew he was around. He come walking through, and he was just a person until he pulled out the gun, and right there, and it was right on camera.
Why do you think Rudy did that? Why he?
I think for the love of President Kennedy. There was all kinds of conspiracy thoughts that he was part of the mafia and he was paid to do that. But I think he did it just for the love of the president.
Mm-hmm. So you don't think that it was? You don't believe in the big conspiracy that it was for something much more,
No.
rather than him just being angry?
No, I don't.
So then, in your personal opinion, you think Kennedy was just assassinated just out of
Yes,
just
I do.
for randomness
Yeah.
in a way?
I think he was just he was very popular and very out in the open with people.
Mm-hmm.
Walked around freely, and somebody just took advantage of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So then, was there any? Because I know you had mentioned a lot of people were sad when John F. Kennedy had passed away. Did you meet other people that really weren't sad?
Yeah, I did. He was my dry cleaning man, and he stopped, and I already had a little. I didn't care for him for the way he hit my dog, and so when he came up the driveway just as I came outside after it had happened, and I told him, and he said, "Good, it's just a thorn out of our side." And I said, "Don't you ever come up my driveway again."
Did you have any more experiences like that, or was that really the only one that was memorable?
Yeah, that's the only one I can remember of anybody saying anything.
Okay, so since we're on the topic about kind of like assassinations, I was wondering if you'd be willing to talk about your experience with 9/11.
Sure.
All right, awesome. So how old were you when that took place?
When 9/11 took place, I was I was probably 55 years old.
55. Do you remember like what you were doing during that day?
Yeah, I do. It was early in the morning when it happened. if I remember right, it was like about 9:30, and I was house cleaning, and I had the TV on, and it said that a plane had just hit one of the towers, the towers in New York, and then they showed a picture, and then pretty soon they said that a plane hit the other one, and um, we we were watching it, and you could see all kinds of people running and fire. You could see the place had already caught on fire from the plane and hitting, and people were running down the street, and policemen trying to get to the site. It was just chaos. It was just people everywhere trying to get out of the way, and the the fire trucks and stuff trying to get in. It was wild.
Um, when did you know for sure that this was a terrorist attack?
I Of course you assume it right away. I mean, it's almost a for sure when somebody does something like that. It's terrorist, but they announced it later on in the day of the other, the plane that went down in Pennsylvania, and the one that hit the building in Washington. Forget now the name of it. What was it called? The one they did hit that they. Oh gosh, I forgot. But they were going. Their intention was to get to the White House.
Yeah.
And they hit this other building instead. But the TV was just jumping from one place to the other. It first would talk about what was going on at the plane site in Pennsylvania, and then Washington D.C., and then back to New York, and it was just wild.
What emotions and thoughts were going through your mind when you learned about the attack?
Well, couldn't believe that this was happening to the United States. I just couldn't believe that. It was just a terrible, terrible thing. All the lives and that was taken from.
Mm-hmm. So you're just kind of, were you like sad or angry?
Very emotional, very emotional.
Yeah. What were you afraid of, like for your safety or your family safety?
Well, not really. It was all in that one day, and no, I wasn't afraid it was going to happen to us. It's just your thoughts were with the people that what was happening to, and you didn't get beyond that.
Yeah. Did you know anybody in that attack, or?
No, I didn't.
No.
No.
From your perspective, how did like the nation react the following days after 9/11?
Well, I think everybody was just stood still. They just couldn't believe it. It was just very sad for everyone. I don't think anybody didn't feel it in their heart.
What did you think about the president's reaction to the attack?
Well, I thought what he did was very nice. He went there, and he spoke, and he was with the people. I truly believe that.
So do you believe any of the conspiracy theories that 9/11 was actually caused, like the government did it, and it was all staged?
Um, I don't know. It was all staged. It had to be. They trained them guys to fly.
Oh, I mean, like, do you believe that our government, the U.S. government, made it look like a terrorist attack?
Um, no, no, it was, but they
Mm-hmm.
didn't. No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, it was very obvious. It was a terrorist attack, and everybody was just doing what they could do to save the people that were maybe still alive or.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever meet anybody that went through that attack?
No.
No. Um, how do you think 9/11 has changed your perspective, or at least, or maybe even the world's kind of perspective?
Well, I am I'm afraid to get on an airplane and go anywhere, or I don't like to be in crowds. I have no reason or have no desire to go to New York City. I just don't want to be in that kind of environment ever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very scary. The to get on a plane or be in them crowds. Even today, it's scary for people, or it is for me. I don't want to be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, well, Carol, thank you so much for interviewing with me today. I really appreciate getting to know history through someone else's eyes and someone who experienced a lot of this firsthand.